O seeker of truth, today I would unveil to thee a wisdom that shall transform the tapestry of thy life forevermore. I shall teach thee not merely to dream, but to feel, to touch the essence of thy heart's desire, to cradle the reality of thy visions, to weave the manifestation of thy deepest yearnings. There lies a secret, a mighty secret, hidden from the multitude, veiled from the eyes of those who toil in shadow. It is not born of labor more strenuous, nor of striving prolonged, nor of wrestling against the tides of fate. Nay, it is feeling, the sacred key that unlocks the chambers of thy world and reshapes its form. Close thine eyes, O wanderer, and envision for a moment that thy most cherished desire hath already blossomed into being. See it not as a distant star, but as a flame alive within thee. Yet do not merely behold it, feel it. Let the joy, the peace, the fulfillment of its realization flood thy soul. Immerse thyself in its warmth, as though a tender embrace doth enfold thee. For in that moment thou art not merely imagining, thou art creating. The imagination is no fleeting whimsy, no mere refuge from the world's weight. It is the very substance of reality. Thy inner world, O soul, is the loom upon which the outer world is woven. The feeling of thy desire fulfilled is the thread that binds thy destiny. Thoughts alone, though they soar like eagles, are not enough. They must be clothed in the raiment of emotion, steeped in the conviction of being that which thou aspirest to become. When doubt, like a shadow, creeps nigh, and it shall return to the feeling. Cling to it as a mariner clings to the star that guides him through the storm. Let it abide in thy heart, steadfast, though the outer world proclaim otherwise. Thy inner certainty shall mold the clay of the external. Persist, O heart, until the feeling grows so true, so radiant, that no force can shake its foundations. If memories of days past burden thee, if they whisper of sorrow or regret, I bid thee to feel them anew. Rewrite the tale of yesterday. Take the pain, the loss, the shadow of remorse, and weave them into a garment of peace and triumph. Thou art not chained to the past, unless thy feeling binds thee there. Above all, place thy trust in the altar of thy emotions. Thy feeling is not a mirage, but the seed of thy tomorrow. Doubt it not, though it hath not yet taken form before thine eyes. Trust in the potency of feeling, for what thou feelest with unwavering faith shall inevitably come to pass. I shall teach thee to feel, for feeling is the tongue of creation. Once thou hast learned to feel thy desire as real, it shall become real. Let thy imagination be the forge of thy fate, and persist until the feeling solidifies into truth. Believe in thy power. Feel it now, manifest it, live it, and soon the world shall have no choice but to mirror thy vision. The power of feeling, the breath of reality. O child of the eternal, know that feeling is the secret to transmuting the unseen into the seen. Many err believing that thought alone, clad in the armor of positivity, shall bring forth change. But thoughts without feeling are as vessels empty, void of life. Feeling is the force that breathes vitality into thy thoughts, the wind that carries them to the shores of reality. The emotional charge behind thy musings gives them wings and motion. Imagine, for instance, that thou seekest the abundance of wealth. To think of riches without feeling the essence of prosperity is to scatter seeds upon barren ground. Thou mayest proclaim, I am wealthy, yet if thy heart trembles with fear or want, the universe heeds the silent cry of thy feeling, not the echo of thy words. The secret is to dwell in the feeling of abundance already attained. Feel the freedom, the security, the confidence that flows from plenty. Let this feeling permeate thy mind and soul until it becomes thy natural state. Thy feelings, O soul, are not mere fleeting emotions. They are the essence of thy creative might. Each emotion thou dost embrace carries a vibration, a frequency that draws unto the experiences of its kind. When thou dwellest in gratitude, joy, love, or peace, thou dost summon circumstances that harmonize with these sacred tones. Yet when thou lingerest in fear, doubt, or resentment, thou invitest more of their likeness into thy life. Deny not the shadows, but choose to abide in the light of feelings that uplift thy vision. To cultivate the right feeling demands practice and intent. Begin by naming the emotions tied to thy desires. How would it feel to live the life thou dreamest of? Wouldst thou feel empowered, at peace, joyful, or secure? Name these feelings, then embody them daily through the art of visualization. Paint vivid pictures in thy mind's eye. See thyself walking through the halls of thy dream's dwelling, holding the keys to thy heart's longing, or basking in the warmth of love fulfilled. As thou visualizest, do not merely see, feel. Let the emotions rise within thee, and embrace them as thy truth. The more thou practicest feeling thy desires as real, the more natural it shall become. In time it shall cease to be an effort and become thy default state. Thou shalt notice a shift in how thou meetest life's trials. Instead of reacting with fear or frustration, thou shalt remain anchored in the feeling of fulfillment. This inner steadiness is not merely empowering, it is transformative. It alters how thou movest through the world and how the world responds to thee. Many falter, seeking to force change through action alone, neglecting the primacy of feeling. Action rooted in fear or desperation bears fleeting fruit, but action born of genuine belief and the feeling of success carries a magnetic quality, drawing favorable outcomes. Others shall behold the confidence, the peace, the certainty within thee. Doors shall open, opportunities arise, and circumstances shift to align with thy vision. Thy ability to feel the essence of thy desire before it takes form is an act of profound faith. It proclaims thy trust in the unseen forces that labor for thy good. No longer dost thou await evidence to believe. Thou believest first, and the evidence follows. This is the heart of creation, to feel the reality of thy desire fulfilled before it dawns upon the horizon. When thou masterest the art of feeling, thou transcendest doubt and fear. Thou dost not chase thy dreams, thou becomest their embodiment. Thou radiatest the energy of attainment, and the universe mirrors this radiance back to thee. Thy feelings are not mere private musings, they are mighty signals sent forth to the cosmos, calling all that resonates with them. Feeling is the secret, and to master it is to seize the reins of thy destiny. Living in the end, the path of fulfillment. O seeker, to live in the end is to dwell in the state of thy desire already fulfilled. It is to inhabit the mental and emotional realm where thy vision is no longer a hope but a reality. This is no mere optimism, no recitation of hollow affirmations. It is to immerse thyself so fully in the truth of thy desire that it becomes more real than the shadows cast by the outer world. To live in the end, thou must train thy mind to transcend the limits of the present and step into the state where thy desire is not merely possible, but is close thine eyes and see thyself as the one thou aspirest to be, living the life thou longest for. Feel the texture of this reality. How dost thou move? What dost thou see? How doth thy heart sing? Engage all thy senses and embrace the fullness of this truth. The key is to carry this feeling through the hours of thy day, not as a fleeting vision, but as a constant state. Persist in this state, though the outer world may contradict it. Let thy desired reality reign supreme in thy inner world, more vivid than the fleeting forms perceived by thy senses. When thou livest in the end, thou releasest the need to manipulate external conditions. Thou art no longer a seeker, but a possessor. Thou ceasest to chase and beginnest to attract. This shift in perception alters the energy thou projectest and the actions thou takest. Thou movest with quiet assurance, as one who knows their desire is already theirs. To live in the end brings a peace profound. When thou knowest thy desire is fulfilled, anxiety and desperation fade. Thou art no longer ensnared in striving or fretting over how events shall unfold. Thou rest in the certainty that it is done. This serenity allows thee to navigate life with grace, unmoved by passing storms. Living in the end is not to deny the outer world, but to recognize thy power to shape it through thy inner state. The world around thee reflects thy dominant feelings and beliefs. By dwelling as if thy dream were already real, thou preparest the stage for its manifestation. Thy subconscious mind, the silent weaver of thy actions, aligns with this assumed reality, filtering thoughts and opportunities that resonate with thy new state, making thy desire ever more natural. Challenges may arise, and doubts may whisper, but to live in the end is to hold fast to thy vision. Let not temporary setbacks convince thee that thy goal is beyond reach. Use these moments to reaffirm thy commitment. The manifestation is complete within, and the outer world is merely catching up. If sustaining the feeling proves difficult, immerse thyself in actions that echo thy desired outcome. If thou dreamest of being a prosperous creator, surround thyself with the words, the company, and the spaces that reflect this truth. Speak as one who hath achieved it. Act from abundance, not lack. This constant embodiment impresses upon thy subconscious the reality of thy desire fulfilled. Release the need to know how thy desire shall come to pass. The path may be winding, unexpected, yet that is not thy concern. Thy task is to remain steadfast in the feeling of the end. Trust that the necessary steps shall unfold naturally. Obsession with the how and when breeds doubt. When thou truly livest in the end, obstacles become but steps on the journey, opportunities to prove thy faith. Living in the end is a covenant with thy vision. It demands discipline to ignore distractions and doubts. Yet as thou masterest this practice, thy reality shall shift in wondrous ways. People, opportunities, and circumstances shall align to bring thy inner vision into tangible form. Thou shalt feel an unshakable confidence, knowing thy desired outcome is not a possibility, but an inevitability. When thou livest in the end, thou becomes the architect of thy reality, no longer swayed by fleeting tides or temporary setbacks. Thou standest firm in the conviction that what thou desirest is already thine. This profound ownership empowers thee to live boldly, act decisively, and manifest effortlessly. Assuming the feeling, the bridge of creation. To assume the feeling of the desire fulfilled is to step consciously into the emotional state of having attained thy goal. It is not to think positively or chant affirmations alone. It is to feel as though thy dream were thy present truth. This is to live in the mental and emotional space of thy desire so naturally that thy subconscious accepts it as reality. Begin by identifying the core emotion tied to thy desire. What would it feel to have thy goal realized? Be it financial freedom, a thriving vocation, a loving bond, or vibrant health. Wouldst thou feel secure, at peace, proud, or elated? Name this emotion, for it is the key that unlocks thy creative power. Once named, dwell in it as often as thou canst. Visualization is a sacred rite for this purpose. In a quiet sanctuary, close thine eyes and craft a vivid scene that implies thy desire's fulfillment. See thyself living the life thou aspirest to. Make it rich with detail. Note the colors, the sounds, the textures. Above all, focus on how thou feelest in that moment. Let the emotions of achievement, pride, love, or serenity rise within thee. Embrace them fully. This is no idle daydream, but a purposeful act of feeling rooted in conviction. The feeling must be genuine and sustained. To imagine once and return to doubt is to scatter thy seeds upon the wind. Practice this state until it becomes second nature. When doubt or contrary circumstances arise, return to the feeling, affirm that thy inner reality surpasses outer appearances. Persist, though the world around thee seems unmoved. Strengthen this practice by dedicating time each day to immerse thyself in this state. With time, thy mind shall grow accustomed to the feeling, and it shall arise effortlessly, even unbidden. This is the moment when the feeling becomes part of thy being. Thou art no longer striving to become, but simply art. Thy subconscious knows not the difference between imagination and reality when it comes to feeling. What thou impressest upon it with conviction and emotion becomes thy experience. By assuming the feeling of the desire fulfilled, thou convincest thy subconscious that it is so. Then it labors tirelessly, through inspired actions, unexpected opportunities, and synchronicities, to bring this reality to pass. The challenge lies in overcoming the habit of dwelling on lack or obstacles. Many focus on problems, barriers, or reasons their dream seems unattainable. This only perpetuates the present. To break free, shift thy focus to the feeling of the desire fulfilled. When negative thoughts arise, counter them with affirmations spoken with genuine emotion. Declare them not as words, but as truths. Feel the pride, the joy, the gratitude as thou speakest. In daily life, act as if thy desire were already real. Carry thyself with confidence. If thou seekest success, treat thyself with love. If thou desirest a fulfilling bond, make choices as the person thou aspirest to be, not as the one thou presently perceivest. This alignment strengthens thy assumption. Release the need to question how or when thy desire shall manifest. Trust that the feeling itself is the fulfillment, and the physical evidence shall follow. Surrender the burden of deciphering each step. Let the feeling guide thy thoughts and actions. The power of this practice lies in its simplicity. No complex rites are needed, only the constant embodiment of the desired feeling. When thou masterest assuming the feeling, thou takest command of thy destiny, no longer at the mercy of circumstance. Thou realizest that thy inner state is the true source of thy reality. By choosing how thou feelest, thou moldest thy world to thy vision. Assume the feeling of thy desire fulfilled, and watch thy life transform to reflect the truth thou hast claimed. Persisting in the feeling, the discipline of creation. To persist in the feeling of the desire fulfilled is to make it a constant state of being. It is not enough to touch this feeling. Once or twice thou must dwell in it, unwavering though the world around thee seems to deny it. This requires discipline and a steadfast commitment, especially when appearances contradict thy vision. The mind, O seeker, is prone to return to familiar paths of doubt and fear. Conditioned by what it sees, hears, and touches, it falters when the outer world shows lack or failure. Here, many stumble, allowing temporary setbacks to dictate their emotions. But true mastery demands that thou remain true to the feeling, even in the face of adversity. Stand firm in the conviction that thy desire is already thine, though all suggests otherwise. To persist. Build a daily practice that anchors this feeling. Begin each morning by immersing thyself in the sensation of thy desire fulfilled. Let it be thy first thought upon waking and thy last before sleep. Repetition strengthens the pathways of thy mind, making the feeling ever more accessible, even in trials. The more thou dwellest in this state, the less sway outer circumstances shall hold over thee. Affirmations, when spoken with conviction, are a mighty tool. Choose words that resonate with thy vision and declare them as truth. Say, I am abundant, or I am fulfilled, not as a wish, but as a reality. Let the words carry the weight of certainty. When doubts arise, counter them by returning to the feeling of fullness. Gratitude is a sacred ally in persistence. Shift thy focus from lack to abundance by giving thanks as if thy desire were already fulfilled. Feel the warmth of appreciation and let it anchor thee in the present. Gratitude strengthens thy faith and makes it easier to abide in the feeling of fullness, even in challenging times. When doubt or frustration emerges, as it may, remember that delay is not denial. A process unfolds, aligning circumstances to bring thy desire to pass. Resist the urge to complain or overanalyze. Instead, return to the feeling of fulfillment. Speak to thyself with words of encouragement, affirming that thy desire is already real. Protect thy mental space from negative influences. Be mindful of conversations, media, and environments that stir doubt or fear. Surround thyself with inspiration, uplifting messages, stories of triumph, and those who share thy vision. Distance thyself from skeptics, for their energy may weaken thy resolve. Thy mind is a sacred garden. Tend it with care. Inspired action is the fruit of persistence. As thou dwellest in the feeling of fullness, thou mayest feel prompted to take certain steps, a call to make, a project to pursue. Trust these impulses and act with confidence, knowing they spring from thy assumed state. Such actions flow effortlessly, aligned with thy new reality. Persistence is not about forcing positivity, but about gently realigning with thy desired state when thou strayest. If doubt or fear arises, guide thy thoughts back to the feeling of fulfillment. Practice self-compassion, knowing that persistence is a journey, not perfection. Each return to the feeling strengthens thy resolve. Cultivate a quiet certainty. Persist not with desperation, but with serene confidence. Desperation signals lack. Certainty signals possession. Know that thy desire is secured, and rest in that knowing. The universe responds not to frantic striving, but to calm conviction. Persistence is a way of being. It demands discipline, commitment, and unshakable faith. Thy task is not to force outcomes, but to embody the feeling until it becomes thy truth. In doing so, thou alignest thy inner world with thy vision, and the outer world shall reflect it. The power of manifestation lies in thy unwavering resolve to persist, no matter the challenge. Hold fast to the feeling, nurture it, and let it shape thy reality. Speaking from faith, claiming thy desire. When thou claimest thy desire fulfilled, thou must speak and think from the place of its reality, not as a distant hope. This is a mighty step, moving thee from wanting to having. To claim thy desire is to reject thoughts of lack or doubt, and to stand as one who already possesses what they seek. Begin with thy inner speech. Many, unknowingly, reinforce their longing by speaking of desires as yet to come. They say, "I want success," or "I hope for love someday." Such words widen the chasm between now and then. Instead, speak with authority. Replace "I want" with "I am" and "I hope" with "I have." Declare, "I am successful, I am loved, I am abundant." Speak these not as affirmations, but as truths. Let thy words carry the weight of reality, as though thou wert merely naming what already is. Thy thoughts, subtle yet potent, must align with thy claim. To think from the end is to imagine life as it would be if thy desire were fulfilled. Feel, think, act as one who has attained what they sought. This shift creates a vibration that draws the conditions needed to manifest thy vision. Visualization strengthens thy claim. Daily envision thyself living thy desired reality. See it vividly, feel it intensely, and let it be as real as the ground beneath thy feet. Place thyself in the scene, breathe the air, hear the sounds, touch the textures, The more thou dwellest in this reality, the stronger thy claim becomes. Thy actions must reflect thy claimed state. If thou seekest abundance, to act not from fear of lack, but to make choices with confidence in thy wealth. If thou desirest a love, to show kindness and openness as one who knows love is already theirs. Every deed, however small, affirms thy new reality. Emotion is the lifeblood of thy claim. To speak without feeling is to sow barren seeds. When thou sayest, I am prosperous, feel the freedom of prosperity. When thou proclaimest, I am loved, let thy heart swell with warmth. Thy emotions fuel thy desire, giving it form and motion. The outer world may challenge thy claim, its signs seemingly at odds with thy truth. Here, faith is thy shield. Hold fast to thy claim. Though appearances deny it, the outer world reflects but the echoes of past states. Persist in thy new state, giving no power to contrary forms. Release the need for immediate proof. The moment thou claimest thy desire, the unseen wheels turn to bring it forth. The timing is not thine to govern. Avoid the trap of scrutiny, which breeds doubt. Rest in the certainty that what thou hast claimed is thine. Surrender the how and when, and abide in the feeling of possession. Strengthen thy claim through repetition. Speak thy desire aloud daily with passion. Write it as truth and read it oft. Meditate upon it, letting the feeling sink into thy soul. Surround thyself with reminders, visions, symbols that echo thy claimed reality. This immersion anchors thy conviction. Claiming thy desire is no single act, but a continuous practice. Nurture it until it becomes thy natural state. When doubts arise, reaffirm thy claim with greater resolve. Each moment spent in the feeling of fulfillment draws thee closer to its manifestation. Thy reality shall conform to the state thou consistently embody. Claim thy desire with unwavering faith, knowing the universe aligns all to make it so. Live from thy fulfilled desire as the truest truth, and watch thy world transform to match thy certainty. Sustaining the feeling, the unyielding flame. To sustain the feeling of the desire fulfilled is to become resolute in living from that state. It is not enough to touch it fleetingly. Thou must make it a constant, unshakable reality within. This is the secret to solidifying thy manifestation, allowing it to take root in thy physical world. To let doubt or fear take hold is to weaken thy creation. To sustain the feeling is to guard thy thoughts and emotions with vigilance. At first, the feeling may seem foreign, as thy mind clings to present conditions. It may feel like pretense, a mere wish, yet with steadfast practice, it shall become natural. Repetition is thy ally. Place thyself in the state of fulfillment daily until it becomes thy mind's default. Begin each morning by dwelling in this feeling. Let it permeate thy being before the day unfolds. Throughout, reaffirm this state in thought, word, and deed. When challenges arise that seem to contradict thy desired reality, remind thyself that these are but shadows of former beliefs. Respond not from thy old self, but from thy fulfilled state. If financial strain appears while thou claimest wealth, refuse to feel defeated. Stand firm in the inner knowing that thy abundance is assured, and setbacks are but fading echoes. Mental discipline is thy strength. Thy thoughts may wander to familiar doubts. Train thyself to recognize these, and replace them with affirmations of thy chosen reality. If thoughts of lack arise, counter them with the feeling of abundance. Visualization is a sacred practice here. Dwell in vivid scenes of thy desire fulfilled. Feel the textures, hear the sounds, embrace the emotions. The more thou visitest this inner world, the more it feels like truth, not dream. Affirmations, spoken with conviction. Anchor thy feeling. Declare, I am thriving. I am whole with certainty. Let these words carry the vibration of truth. Speak them when doubt creeps, letting their energy realign thy soul. Be mindful of thy emotional responses. Old triggers may test thy resolve. Choose thy reactions with care, redirecting negative energies to thy affirmed state. If another questions thy vision, absorb not their doubt. Stand firm and silently reaffirm thy truth. Surround thyself with influences that uplift. The company thou keepest, the words thou hearest, shape thy inner world. Avoid those who sow doubt, and seek thee who inspire belief. Immerse thyself in stories and teachings that affirm thy vision. Thy mind is a sacred space. Guard it with intent. Gratitude is thy anchor. Give thanks not only for what thou hast, but for what thy desirest as already thine. Feel the joy as thou expressest this gratitude. This practice aligns thee with abundance and strengthens thy faith. When doubt arises, neither resist nor indulge it. Acknowledge it, then gently return to thy feeling of fulfillment. Know that doubt is but a shadow of thy former self, and thou hast outgrown it. Respond as one who knows their desire is real. Consistency is thy path. Sustaining thy feeling is no single act, but an ongoing commitment. Check thy state throughout the day. If thou hast strayed, pause and recalibrate. Each return strengthens thy resolve and draws thee nearer to manifestation. The outer world shall bend to thy inner truth. Thy work is to remain steadfast, though evidence seems contrary. Thy persistent feeling shall shape reality. As thou masters sustaining this state, thou becomest the weaver of thy fate, bending reality to thy inner vision. Remain disciplined, faithful, and the feeling that thy desire is already thine. The unshakable faith. Faith, O unwavering soul, is the cornerstone of thy desire's fulfillment. It is not a passive hope, nor a wish cast upon the winds, but a certainty absolute that what thou desirest is already thine. It is the knowing that, despite appearances or trials, thy vision unfolds. This faith is resolute, unshaken by circumstance, unyielding to doubt. It stands rooted in the truth that thy desire is fulfilled, in the unseen realm, awaiting its physical dawn. True faith needs no external proof. It dares to believe in the invisible, to hold fast to thy inner vision though all seems contrary. Many falter, swayed by the absence of immediate signs. But thou must know the unseen is the womb of reality, where all that manifests first takes form. Strengthen thy faith through daily practice. Affirm thy desires as fulfilled. With unwavering conviction, say, I am whole. I am blessed, not as hope, but as truth. Feel their reality within, stirring certainty and peace. This conditions thy mind to embrace thy desired state as fact. Visualization fortifies thy faith. See thy desired life as now, living, thriving. Feel the joy, the gratitude, the triumph. The more tangible these scenes, the stronger thy belief. Thy subconscient mind accepts these as real, aligning thy actions to manifest them. In quietude, meditate on thy desires as done. Release fear and doubt, centering on thy dream's fullness. Breathe deeply, letting each breath dissolve resistance. In this stillness, thy faith deepens, undisturbed by outer noise. Guard against negativity, within or without. Others may question thy path, or circumstances may seem to deny, yet thy faith yields not to criticism, nor falters under pressure. It knows the inner reality is supreme. When doubt whispers, counter it with affirmations of thy truth. Seek companions who uplift, who share thy belief in the mind's power. Their encouragement strengthens thy resolve. Avoid those who dwell in doubt, for their words may dim thy light. Thy faith thrives in an atmosphere of possibility. Release the need to know how or when thy desire shall manifest. Faith seeks not the map, but trusts the journey. Surrender the details to the infinite wisdom that orders all questioning breeds doubt. Trust that all needed shall align. Persistence marks true faith. When setbacks arise, use them to deepen thy commitment. Each challenge is a chance to affirm thy vision, to prove thy resolve. Embrace obstacles as opportunities to grow into one ready to hold thy blessing. Gratitude sustains thy faith. Give thanks daily for thy desires as already fulfilled. This act signals thy certainty, drawing more to be thankful for. Begin and end with gratitude, feeling its warmth. This keeps thy faith unshaken. Let thy faith be absolute, not swayed by time or tide. It is the quiet knowing that what thou hast claimed is thine, though appearances deny. Strong enough to weather doubt, resilient to endure the weight. Thy faith trusts the unseen, is unfolding into the seen. Through practice, visualization, meditation, positive company, persistence, and gratitude, thy faith becomes unyielding. It makes thy desired reality inevitable. A truth no circumstance can shake. As thou masters this faith, thou becomest unstoppable, the creator of thy destiny, the weaver of thy dreams.